Don't be suspicious. 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 Don't be. Genre.
Awesome. Now, of course, my audio is being weird, so 1 second. All right, so we're streaming, we're on, we're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BPL Boston Public Library Teen Services Among Us stream. Today, we're here with our friends from Peace First, which is a youth activism organization that's co-led with some youth. We have some representatives here that I'll let introduce themselves in just a moment. I'm Allie. I'm the Children and Youth Services Librarian over at the Brighton branch of the BPL, and I'm going to let my friends from Peace First introduce themselves as well. So Brennan, why don't you introduce yourself first? What is your name? What are your pronouns? And what is your job title?
Yeah, hey all. My name is Brennan. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm calling in from North Carolina. My job title is I'm the Fellow in Residence and Regional Manager for the U.S. and Canada at Peace First. So that means that I work with young people who are leading social action projects in our community.
Awesome. Jazz, would you like?
Yeah, hi friends. Jasmine. It's exciting to be here. I'm excited to play. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I do marketing and communications here at Peace First. I was a fellow in residence for about 1.5 years, and I also sit on the board for Peace First. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Hey folks, I'm Fish, I'm 25, I'm calling to you from Oakland, California. My pronouns are he, him. I'm our global director of programs at Peace First, which means I make all of the things happen so that young people around the world can get training and grants from us to start social action projects and solve problems in their community. I'm super excited to be here with everybody.
Awesome. We're going to have to bear with my echo for 1 second because my computer is taking its sweet time to fix this. But today we're going to be playing a little bit of Among Us, which if you haven't played before is a game you can download on your iOS or Google Play Store for free. Search Among Us in the App Store and go ahead and download it. You can also get it on the Nintendo Switch for $5, and it will allow you to play with us here today. So we're going to go ahead and Chris is going to start a game. Yes, viewers are not only allowed to join, they are encouraged to do so. To do that, you're going to, when you see this little home screen, you're going to click online play. Up at the top, there's a square where you can alter your name. This is the only point in the game at which you can alter your name, so I recommend doing it now. At the bottom, you'll see private, and you're going to enter the code. And our code today is JGNLFH. And if you are joining us not from North America, please remember to change over your server to North America to make sure that you can get onto the same game we are all playing. Chris, is my audio any better? Okay, lots of fun here. Awesome, so go ahead and join the game. As we play today, we are going to be spending some time chatting to Peace First, our friends from Peace First, about what it is that they do and what it means for you to become potentially an activist in your community, and for you to get a chance to ask questions about what that can look like for yourself, or what that journey looked like for any of the three that are here with us on stream. While we wait for our waiting room to fill up here on the game, I do have a very important question for all three of you, which is, have you played Among Us before? And if so, rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, wait, which is the best and which is the worst on that scale?
10 is the best, and 1 is you're sus all the time. You get kicked off very easily.
I would give myself like a 4. Also, could you read the code again? I don't think it's going through for me.
Yes, it is JGNLHF. And for those of you at home who'd like to join, you can use that same exact code. Come on in. I see that Jenna has joined us. Welcome, welcome. Father is here. Joke never fails to land. So, Fish or Jazz, what have you played before, and where would you rank yourself on our scale?
Okay, I have played before. I've played many times, and on a scale of 1 being awful and 10 being 10 being like exceptional, I'm like a 2, but I'm feeling confident today that, you know, I can move up in my ranks. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, and Fish.
I've played before. Don't hold me to this, but I'm going to give myself a 6.5.
Okay. All right. I rank myself at a solid 9.8. So I
All
don't
right,
deserve
we're
it, but I
both
do. No, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it, but it's my own ranking. I'm giving it to myself. All right, so we have 8 out of 10 here, so I'm going to ask Chris to get us started, and then as folks join on the stream, we'll have a chance later for you to join in the game as well. This will be super hard for our folks over here at Peace First as well, because I'm going to ask them questions about their jobs and what they do while we're playing. So let's go. Let's do it. Oh, we got one more. We have Liam's doggo. I wish, and it's gone. But I do wish a dog could play Among Us with us. That would be kind of fun. All right, so again, if you've never played before, this game is all about finding out who the imposters are on our spaceship. There are going to be 2 of them, and we are going to try to suss out who it is and or complete the tasks. So if you die, keep doing your tasks, please, because I don't like to lose, and I am a crewmate this time around. Also, if you are playing and joining in from home, we do recommend pausing the stream or closing it for now, just because it does sometimes give you a few hints in the game. It might tell you who the imposter is. So do recommend closing that out so you can join us here. All right, so Brennan, I'm going to start with you. What is your role within the organization, and what does like your day-to-day look like? What does it entail?
Yeah, man, I did not think about how difficult it was going to be to multitask. So I work directly with young people at Peace First. So we work with young people between the ages of 13 and 25, anywhere in the world to start social action projects. So we think of that as, any project that young people can use to address injustice in their communities. So we work with young people who are organizing around racism, around economic injustice in their communities. And my work is primarily just to hang out with folks who are doing this work. And I actually do direct coaching and mentorship. So a lot of times talking with folks about what they want to do, what their ideas are, and helping them through the process of project planning. I also run all of our recruitment and program work across the US and Canada. So super busy.
Cool. I'm going to follow up with you after we suss out who maybe murdered our friend Jazz right out the gate, murdering a guest on the stream. Could you be more tacky? But I also see that Jenna is gone, but maybe that's just because she left the game. That might not be because she died. I do see that Chris and Soham are arguing in the chat. So I don't know. Does anybody, Fish or Brennan, did you guys vote already?
Yeah, Allie, I said it was you. I gotta say.
I haven't voted yet. This is a very heated discussion going on between Chris and Soham. I'm gonna go with Chris. I just got a feeling.
All right. I will say something else that we've learned about this game is that we have what we call voice privilege. So we do have to make sure we're also saying things in the in-game chat so the folks who aren't listening to the stream can also hear. Chris, you are the only one who hasn't voted, which is a little sus. Brennan. I know it was you.
What?
Admitted it. I died. I got a vote. I died. God, I would have been so mad. All right, awesome. Well, so we also have a rule here while we're playing is that once you're dead, you can't talk, but I'm immediately going to say, Jazz, break that rule and tell us about what you do at Peace First.
Yeah, okay, first, I'm so sad that I died, but this is to be expected. So I do marketing and communications at Peace First. Storytelling is something that I'm super passionate about. I started a nonprofit when I was 15. It's called Love Girls Magazine, and that's really where that love for sharing stories and celebrating other people really came to be a passion of mine. So here at Peace First, I run like digital communications. Yep. I run digital communications, campaigns, social media, and I work with some really amazing people. Dahlia, who is head of marketing communications, and yeah. I'm sorry, the chat is distracting me.
The chat is blowing up because I really don't know who I trust here. I actually think I might trust Chris, which is a very rare occurrence if you've ever watched our stream. Brennan, did you get kicked from the game?
I'm dead. I died.
Oh, so you don't have a little X for me. You're dead? R.I.P.
I'm so sorry, but I have died.
Oh, R.I.P. Stop killing guests. Oh my God. Also, I'm pretty sure it's not Chris because I'm still alive, and typically I'm Chris's #1 target. So let's see.
It's an important piece of evidence there.
Thank you. Yes. Avenge me if I die.
Oh,
all right.
We live to fight another day.
We have one imposter left. So Fish as our not last imposter, but last alive among us person. What do you do for a Peace First? What does your job kind of look like?
Yeah, so I joined Peace First 4 years ago after being one of their first grantees. So I was one of the young people that Peace First supported with a grant and training to lead social justice work in my community. And, after graduating college, I joined the team to help mobilize more young people in the US to take on problems in their community. Over the past few years, I've been in a number of roles, but for the past 2 years, I've been leading our program team. So making sure that all of the young people that we work with, the thousands of them throughout the world, get the training and the support and the funding they need when they need it to make the kind of change they want to see in the world.
Awesome. Very cool.
And
right,
I just
so,
noticed the bad news.
Yeah. While we were talking about changing the world, some people were busy doing murders. So chalk that one up to the teens. Definitely an incredible showing. A good game overall. Very nice. All right, so like we've said, if you're just joining the stream, we are the Boston Public Library Teen Services team, joined today with our friends over from Peace First. We're playing a couple of rounds of Among Us here until 5 o'clock, so you can go ahead and join. The code should be on the screen, but if not, it is JGNLHF. So I encourage you to come on in and join our game. We have a fun little in-game combo as well going on. And we're going to get started. We're also talking here with Peace First about what they do and the work that they do in the community. So if you have any questions for them, either the individual people that we have here with us today or about the organization as a whole, please pop your comments into the chat, your questions into the chat, so that I can ask them out loud. We're going to challenge them yet again to answer questions while also playing Among Us, while also trying to lie to us. So let's give that a shot. So we talked a little bit about this, how you got involved with Peace First. But so Fish, I know that you said you had one of the projects and grants. Can you talk a little bit about what that looked like and what that means?
Totally. So, like maybe a lot of folks will identify with, I was really badly bullied in elementary and middle school. I was bullied for the way I expressed my gender, and I spent a lot of years just really hating school and not feeling safe. By the time I was 16, sorry, I have to report a body. By the time I was 16, I was really frustrated with what I was seeing in my community, and young people feeling really unsafe at school, not feeling like their identities were supported or valued, not feeling like they had close social relationships. And I realized like there was so much anti-bullying curriculum out there, and most of it wasn't very good. And other 12, the 12, 13-year-olds, 8, 10-year-olds, they're not really interested in having an adult come to them and talk to them about how to behave with their peers, but they will listen to those kinds of lessons and those kind of cues from peers and near peers. So it started out with just a couple of us at our high school saying, you know what, we think that if we built our own curriculum and we tried to change the way our peers related to each other, we could build a school where everyone belongs. And we started doing that at our high school in Annapolis, Maryland. And then we started getting calls from other schools who were like, wait a minute, what you all are doing is actually changing the way people relate to each other, making people safer. We want you to come do it for us. And so we were 16 and we had to figure out how to create a program model, how to train other high school students to do what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing because we were 16 and we were just dealing with the dynamics of our own school and had no idea oh my God, they want to do this in Topeka, Kansas? What do we do about that? And we were dealing with a lot of adults who were supportive, kind of, but really just wanted to sort of put us up on a stage to talk and sort of give us a pat on the head and treat us like we were show dogs. A lot of young people who have participated in activism experienced this. Peace First was one of the first organizations that was really willing to treat us as a partner and a co-conspirator, who made us feel like we weren't doing some cute little social studies project, but said, no, actually, what you've hit on, a peer education model for bullying prevention, is a really cool idea. And you could actually make some real change with this. And we're not just gonna, give you a nice pat on the head and tell you to read some books, but we're gonna give you some real money to go out and make things happen. So we worked over a number of years. We worked in about 15 different states. We trained hundreds of peer educators and worked with thousands of students to help create schools where everyone belongs, and running bullying prevention and tolerance trainings. And so that was my first foray into the world of organizing and change making as a young person, coming from my own experiences and wanting to make sure that other kids felt safer in school than I did. And Peace First literally couldn't have done it without him.
That's awesome. That's such a great, not only introduction to, Peace First as an organization, but I think into you and your passion and how that kind of translated into now what you do with Peace First as one of those aforementioned adults.
I did see that. I tried to move it. Are you still hearing that feedback now? Awesome. I will hold it away from the shirt when speaking. Thanks so much.
And for those of you on stream who are like, why is Fish talking to a ghost? We can hear Chris. You just can't hear Chris. He likes to produce us like we're on The Bachelor in the background. Whoever's doing the murders,
Yes.
are you trying to conduct an interview? Excuse me. But folks, don't forget to use the in-game chat feature. Awesome. Oh, Jazz, you're dead, so I can ask you a question. What are some of the current projects that you're working on, or that Peace First is working on, that you find particularly like exciting or engaging, something that you really like?
Yes, I am dead again. But yeah, so that does give me an opportunity to let you guys know on some cool things that we're working on. So I want to shout out Brennan and all the work they've been doing on our #Rebuild100 campaign. That's launching in it's launched already in the US, and so it works with young people who are it really encourages young people in the U.S. to think about the change that they want to make happen in the Biden administration's first 100 days. So, we talk a lot about what kind of change we want to see, and that could be climate change, that could be like racial justice. And we're putting out a campaign that is really targeted to young people who want to see change happen in their communities. And so if you go onto the Peace First platform, you can become a part of the Rebuild 100 campaign. We also have it on our website. Another campaign that I'm really excited to be working on is our Lead the Work campaign that's happening in sub-Saharan Africa. So we found that we had a lot of young people who were really interested in the Peace First journey, and they had joined and they were working on their projects, and they finished them to completion. And they're like, that's not enough. Like I'm really interested in making philanthropy and activism a career of mine. So our amazing regional managers in sub-Saharan Africa decided to make this program where they can go and get additional mentorship and resources to continue to grow their projects to the next level. And so those are two of the really exciting campaigns that we have happening right now. And then just in general, we have some really cool storytelling things happening on our social media. So we have IG Lives that we've been doing. We have Black History Month IG Lives that have been happening throughout the month. We have one tomorrow. The one last week was amazing. We had Yasmin Arrington on. She founded an amazing organization called Scholarships. And so she works with young people who have incarcerated parents. And she just talked about Black History Month, Black culture, and it was a great time. So anytime you guys are looking for information about your region in particular, especially US based, we have our Rebuild 100 IG Live that happens every Friday at 12 EST. Is that right, B? 12 EST on Instagram Live.
Sorry, I was really sucked into this chat, but yes.
No, me too.
Yeah, it's on Friday. They're trying to knock me out, and I didn't do anything.
Brennan totally did it.
Oh my god, it's selfish. Clearly.
Oh my gosh.
Jazz, that sounds really cool. And I think, Bree, if you're not playing, if you don't mind popping the Instagram link for Peace First into the chat, that would be, I think, super helpful, so folks can go and take a look at some of the archived lives you guys have going on. Brennan was not an imposter. You murderers.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
We
Soham
are
again, man.
Getting destroyed by the teens today.
Oh my god.
That's whew. So Brennan, I'm going to follow up with you a little bit about the Rebuild 100 campaign that Jazz was talking about a little bit. What are some examples of the things that people wanted to see as part of the Rebuild 100 campaign?
Oh man. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So we've got a lot of folks who are working around education and sort of like thinking about reforming the education system. So if you think about like what people who are in high school and in middle school and college right now are facing, it's just so hard. And that's like the number one thing that folks are thinking about is like how hard remote learning is and just like the difficulty of seeing all these systems break down in a way that we haven't for a long time. So I think a lot of folks are thinking about how we can get this right and like better the experience of education and support students right now. And there's also a lot of people thinking about mental health. So, what this experience of isolation is doing for folks and how they can connect with one another and build community. And then we're seeing a lot of folks who are interested in action around racial justice. So thinking about both immigration reform and Black Lives Matter and some of the sort of equity and justice work that folks are really concerned about this past year. I would say it's like a super broad range of issues that folks are excited about, but it's really cool to see, the different ways that people are thinking about injustice right now and how to address it. There's like any number of things, but I think the ideas that we hear sort of come up again and again. Yeah, and I guess I would also defer to Jazz or Fish to anything that you all have seen or that has been really compelling to you.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think one of the really cool things about what we do at Peace First is we don't tell young people what kind of projects or what kind of issues they have to work on. So a young person can come to us and they say, I want to work on gender justice and gender equity in my community, and that's okay. Or a young person can come to us and say, I want to work on gun violence in my community, and that's okay. One of the cool things that we saw as the pandemic started was that people were really focused, especially in the US, on bringing people together and creating safe spaces and places where people could feel heard and not isolated, even as social distancing brought us all apart. So for instance, there were these two 15-year-old girls in California who launched a podcast. The idea of the podcast was to just bring different teens from their community on to tell their stories, to talk about their lives and things that were going on with them, and give people a forum to be heard and also to connect and understand their peers on a different level, even in a time of social distancing. There's another group of young people in Massachusetts who were like, wait a minute, we're going to be fine because we got we got our TikTok and we got our Messenger and we got everything. Like, we know how to connect. Who's going to be really hit hard by social isolation? Our grandparents. Like, we've got so many elders in our community who don't have access to or know how to use tech devices, and the physical communities that they're socially connected to have just gone up in thin air. And so this team, and we gave them a grant, worked to get hundreds of devices out to seniors in their community in New England and train the seniors safely and distantly in how to use those devices so that they could stay connected. Because a lot of us who have older parents or grandparents know that, like, actually staying emotionally connected to people and having relationships as a senior citizen is really important for your health and your mental health. So those are just some examples of some things we've seen in the last year as young people have stepped up to meet the COVID-19 challenge. Those are the kind of things that we've been funding. We also, after the murder of George Floyd and the protests that we saw this summer in support of Black life, we worked with a cohort of young Black activists from around the country who were really, really passionate about advancing racial justice, but wanted a community and some support to build out new projects and to think about how they could address the root causes of police violence and inequity in their community. So we worked with these young people all year and helped them build out some really, really amazing projects to make their communities places where all people are able to thrive. So just a few things from our end.
Awesome. All right, Chris, you can go ahead and start this game. I'll let us concentrate a little bit on this game. I won't ask you too many more hard-hitting questions while we're playing. For those of you just joining us, we are playing some Among Us today. This is the BPL, Boston Public Library Teen Services team. Joined today with some folks from Among Us. And if you all you can totally turn off your, you can turn on your mics for this game as long as you don't give too much away. Ooh, already reacting. If you haven't already, you can give us a follow here on Twitch or on our socials, which should be above my head, I think, maybe. I don't remember where we put everything. But yeah, so you can give us a follow on our socials. You can give Peace First a follow on their socials. Jazz mentioned they're doing some really cool storytelling stuff on their Instagram lives. So it might be worth checking that out, especially as we head towards the end of Black History Month. You can catch up on everything you might have missed going in. All right, no one's died yet, which makes me like a little bit suspicious, I'll be honest.
Somebody's doing some serious sabotage, though.
Yeah. Ooh, that makes me suspicious because some of us like sabotaging more than others. All right, we have a death. Fish and father have died.
No fish.
All right. Let's see.
Allie was like, no one's dead yet. And I had to be like, I'm dead. Like, I'm just flying around doing my tasks and you aren't noticing me.
All right, so let's get some deets. Deets about the death. Did kids still say deets? So Fish, actually great. I'll ask you a follow-up question. You talked a little bit, well, you mentioned that something you really liked about Peace First was that you all don't tell the kids like what ideas to have or what activism should look like, and you kind of let them drive the projects. Can you talk a little bit more about how you support those initiatives as an organization?
Absolutely. So when a young person comes to us and says, you know, I want to work on racial justice, or I want to work on climate change, our goal is to meet you where you are and take you to wherever you want to go to help make change in your community. About half of young people come to us and they've already got an idea for a project. They're like, I know exactly what I want to do and I just need some help. About half of the young people we work with come to us and they're like, I know the problem I want to solve, but I'm not sure what I want to do about it yet, and can you help me? So for that group of people, we have a series of trainings that we run you through. It's kind of like, I don't know if anyone here has ever been on Khan Academy, but it's kind of like a Khan Academy for being an activist. So we help you talk to people in your community and research the problem and do what's called a root cause analysis and think about where that problem might be coming from. And we help you come up with a theory of change, what we call a compassionate insight, a big idea about, oh, okay, well, if this is causing this problem, then this is maybe something I and people in my community can do to solve it. And then once you've got that, we help you build out a plan. So throughout all of this, you get to talk with someone like Brennan or someone like Jasmine or someone like me, someone who's also done this work as a young person before. And you get some coaching and feedback to help you take this idea you have and turn it into a plan that can actually work. Once you've got your plan, you say, okay, these are my goals, these are my steps, this is what I know I'm going to do to make this change, then we'll actually give you money. So we give out grants of $250 to youth activists in the US and around the world. You can use that for transportation, you can use it for food, you can use it for supplies, anything you might need to do the important work that you're doing. We want to make sure you have the resources, because frankly, a lot of young people want to make a difference, but so many of them never get started because they don't have access either to the money that they need to do the work or to a mentor who's willing to help them along and answer their questions and give them a little bit of advice about like, oh, you know, I want to hold a rally in my community, but how do I get a permit? So our goal is to put all of those things at the fingertips of young activists.
Cool. That's awesome. So Brennan, you said earlier, oh, hold on, I found a body. But you said earlier that you work a lot with recruitment. So when we talk a little bit about finding these projects or the youth who want to engage in these projects, how does your role within that come into play? Or do you do more recruitment for the like adult side of the organization?
Oh my gosh, all the recruitment with young people. I try not to talk to adults if I can help it. So
you know, we're all making careers out of that, I think.
Yeah, my job is to primarily identify young people who would be excited about the work that we're doing, and make sure that folks know about the opportunity, because it's a super cool program. And we offer really great resources, but I think our biggest problem right now is that folks just don't know about us sometimes. So yeah, we're working on this really awesome Instagram Live project where we're going live weekly. We just created a TikTok. We're trying to figure out how to use that. So a lot of the stuff that we're working on right now is trying to figure out where to, how to meet folks where they're at. And sometimes we do direct outreach to schools or youth serving organizations. But a lot of times young people come directly to us. They feel, folks are feeling angry or, are trying to find something that they can do to make a difference. And Allie, don't accuse me while I'm talking.
Are flying
That's
so
so
under the
rude.
radar in this game, and I just think we're not paying enough attention to you murdering people.
Oh my god, I can barely concentrate on anything. I'm gonna report you.
I've done nothing wrong.
Yeah, so tons of recruitment work, and a lot of it is just like figuring out how to stay relevant and like figure out what folks need right now, and think about, you know, how we can reach people at those places where they're at and sort of answer questions that they have.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So Jazz, when we talk, who did we vote? Who? Uh-oh. I still think it's Brennan. Oh, but it wasn't. It was me.
That's so rude.
Me and Chris, we love to. That's usually a giveaway, actually, because if both of us are alive at the end of a game, it usually means we're the murderers. We're pretty easy targets, I think, in this game.
I thought you were sus.
Okay,
Allie.
also, y'all have to tell us if you moved to a new link, because Jazz and I were just running around in the old room for like several minutes after everybody
Nobody
left.
told me either. I had to like eventually figure it out. Makes sense. Yeah, let's do it. All right, again, you can't hear producer Chris, but he is telling me to vote everyone off. No one will be going home with roses tonight. I'm very sorry. This is my bachelorette. But we are going to talk a little bit more about the 100 Days campaign. And are you guys still accepting kind of like people who want to still work on that campaign? What should, if our viewers today wanted to get involved, like what does that look like?
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to quickly say that I think the Bachelor this season is in North Carolina. It's from like Raleigh or Durham, so that's a big deal over here. We all want to talk about growing up in the South. Anyways, so for for Rebuild 100, we are accepting folks signing up through April 30th, which is the endpoint of the first 100 days. So people can join us by going to peacefirst.org/rebuild100, and we can probably drop that link in the chat. And if you sign up there, we'll ask you a little bit about yourself and injustices that you care about in your community, and that'll make sure that you get all the communication from us about upcoming opportunities. We're doing events and workshops to support folks. And you can also start a project with us. So that's one of the main links on our website, is to come to us and actually write in your idea about an injustice that you care about and start moving through the process of building a project around that. And we're here to support folks along the way. So while this specific challenge just goes through the first 100 days, we're always available for young people who want to bring an idea to us for the challenge.
Awesome. And just to reiterate, the first 100 days, we're talking about the first 100 days of the Biden administration.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. So, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but while we're like specifically talking about it, can you guys give examples of like some of the issues that have come up that you guys find that kids or youth are really focusing on for these first 100 days? Like what do the priorities seem like they are?
Yeah, so a lot of young people are really interested in climate change. That feels like a super, super important issue right now, especially as we look out and we see, we only have a few years to really find a fix for this issue. Young people are interested.
I do like having a planet. I do like having a planet to live on. It's very nice. I've gotten used to it.
I would like to be alive as well. I would like for my kids to be alive even. Grandkids, we'll see. So we've got young people already who we've supported, who are doing really incredible work, like Dyson in Hawaii, who we've supported to run these amazing lobbying campaigns that have changed policy on plastic use in the state of Hawaii. And so we have a lot of young people like Dyson who are coming to us and saying, hey, we've got a new political environment. We think there might be some opportunity to push to really see some action on climate, but we need some help to do that. Can you help us out? So we've been doing that. We work with young people who are building systems of support for LGBTQ youth. So we actually, if you look on our Instagram, we've got an interview recently with a young activist from Missouri. I don't know why I said it like that. Missouri, who created his communities first hotline for a support hotline for queer youth, where somebody who's in crisis could call and get support from someone who understands and wants to be compassionate. So really this social isolation, but also thinking about social isolation issues with an equity lens, thinking about who gets left out, who's included, who is valued, who is safe. Young people are so interested in making sure that everyone is treated fairly. It's such a basic thing, but it's something that we've forgotten so often in America. And, they're coming up with these cool ideas that we never would have thought of ourselves. And our job is to say, oh, that's an awesome idea. Let's see what we can do to help you make it better. And then let's put some money in your hands so you can make it happen. So just a few of the things we see.
Really cool. All right, Chris, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and give us that new room code. For those of you just joining us, we are the Boston Public Library Teen Services team coming at you today with some Among Us with our friends over at Peace First, who are not so peaceful when they're playing this game. I think they could probably do a few murders or so, but we'll be chatting with them today until about 5 o'clock about the work that they're doing and the ways that they engage youth activists here and around the globe. So if you have any questions for them, no matter how big or how small, go ahead and pop them into the chat so that they have a chance to answer them while we play. There is a new code available. It is IAXNHF. Awesome. Before we get started in this game and before we kind of keep talking here with Peace First, I do want to mention a few of the programs that BPL has coming up. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, Chris will be here live with you playing some Jackbox, so you can go ahead and join in. The first Tuesday in March, which I think is next Tuesday, which is like a horrifying thought to have. Next Tuesday, we'll be playing some Animal Crossing, so get ready for that. If you have your Animal Crossing, we'll be inviting you to come to our library island, Boss Publia, followed by another round of Jackbox. And while we are getting ready for our March lineup, don't forget that on March 25th, we will be having an author talk with Namina Fournier. Laura can correct me in the chat. About her novel, The Gilded Ones, which became an instant New York Times bestseller upon its release, which looks incredible. It's a West African-inspired fantasy novel, so please go ahead and check that out. Laura and I also act up on Instagram sometimes, so you can come and find us there doing book talks and giving recommendations as well. I think our next one is March 12th at 3:30. So, if this isn't enough me for you, there's always the opportunity for more. Awesome. So I am going to ask that as we approach the 45-minute mark that our Peace First colleagues reintroduce themselves. So I'm just going to go right down the line. So Brennan, Jazz, and then Fish. So if you could just reintroduce yourself and tell us again, like maybe a little bit about what you do for Peace First.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Brennan. My pronouns are they, them. I'm not very good at Among Us. And my job title is I'm a fellow in residence and regional manager for Peace First. So that means that I do a lot of work around recruitment and programs, and then also supporting youth-led social action projects. So I work with every young person that comes in from the U.S. and Canada. And I'm based in Durham, North Carolina.
All right, Jazz.
Okay, hello, friends. Jasmine. I do marketing and communications here at Peace First. I've died several times today and probably going to be discussion. Yeah, I'm based in Chicago. We're lucky to have some sun today. I do storytelling, digital campaigns, social media here at Peace First. I started as a Peace First Prize winner a few years ago, became a board member, and then became staff. So Peace First has really just been my life. And I will pass it to Fish.
Hey folks, my name is Fish. I'm 25 years old. I'm calling you from Oakland, California. I'm the global director of programs at Peace First. Before Peace First, I ran a national bullying prevention nonprofit. My job is pretty simple. I manage a team of people whose job it is to help other young people change the world, and I just make sure that we're all doing it. And so super excited to be talking to you about youth activism today and how you can get involved in your communities and how we can help.
All right, awesome. Chris, I'm going to have you go ahead and hit start, and we're going to play another round of Among Us here. If you are joining us from home or you're interested in joining us from home, this is a free app that you can download in the iOS or Google Play Store onto your mobile device. You may get an ad or two at the end, though we have found them to be pretty short and pretty easy to sit through. You can also download this game on Steam or the Nintendo Switch for $5, and you will have another opportunity to join in the game. Unlike Fish, who just got kicked out. So Jasmine, can you, as like a marketing person, talk a little bit more about your global initiatives that you all do? Because you aren't just focused on like America and stuff. You guys are global.
Exactly. So we serve young people all around the world. What's exciting about the work that we do is the community that we've created of young people who are really interested in doing social innovation projects and who want to make their communities a better place. And so there's a dead body reported. So sorry, Allie, sorry, Fish, sorry, Rainbow. So yeah, we are all about doing global messaging and talking to young people all around the world, but we also are really trying to focus on localizing our content, which means basically if you are in Nepal, you can access our resources in your native language, and if you are in Brazil, you can access our resources in your native language, and there's content that is built for you, that serves you, that resonates with you. And so that's one of the things that we've been talking about lately when it comes to storytelling and our personal brand narrative. But it's really interesting and exciting to see the community that we're building online. We have young people, we have what we call super fans online. So if you're interested in anything about Peace First or anything that we talked about today, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at peacefirst.org. Sorry, I have to vote you guys.
That's totally fine.
No.
Oh, we're having some bad sportsmanship in this chat. We're having some bad sportsmanship. My God. So something that you just touched on, Jasmine, that I really liked is the ability to access things, right, in native languages or home spoken languages. And I think that ties in really well to like what we at Boston Public Library are really pushing for right now, which is to have a lot more of our collection and especially right now, our online resources available in the home languages spoken in Boston. Because we have such a diverse population and so much of what we make is only available in English, which creates a barrier to the kind of sense of community we want to build. So that's really cool that so much of what you all are doing, you're trying to make accessible globally, even if it doesn't necessarily, it's not a project that was started in that place in the globe. That's really cool.
Thanks. And yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. That's why we love doing this IG Live series so that we can bring on young people from all around the world. And they can share their stories for themselves. We believe in giving young people the platform to use their own voice and share their own stories and make things really accessible as possible. And so, yep, it's something that we're really proud of and that we're constantly working on.
Awesome. So a question for all three of you, because we did have some new folks join our game. Could you introduce the organization again and talk a little bit about what you all do and what the mission of your org is? This can be any of you.
For sure, just because I got kicked, I'll jump in, since I'm not trying to solve crimes right now. So Peace First is a global nonprofit that trains and funds young activists to make change in their communities. We think any young person has the potential to solve a problem, whether that's gun violence or whether that's bullying in your school. We think that young people actually often have the best solutions to problems because they're closest to them. And when a young person comes to us and says, I want to solve this or that issue, Our job is to meet you where you are and help you by providing you with training and funding so you can come up with a solution to that problem, a plan to put it into action, and then a mentor who will help you see the plan through, and money to buy the things you need. So we've funded over 1,000 projects, and we work with young people all over the world, and including in Boston and all over the US.
It's really cool. I love that you guys, it's not just like an organization that, you know, exists. Like, I think mentorships are really important, but I'm glad that you all also have a source of funding that allows you to not only help figure out logistically how to make this happen, but actually give the resources it takes to make your project a reality. I think that's really cool. Could one of you speak to, like, what does that look like? Like, how long do projects typically take from like inception to when they get implemented? What are some successes you've had with those projects?
Yeah, could you repeat that question? Sorry, I got super sucked into this chat.
Oh, Brennan is the only one of us that's still alive. So this is putting them at a distinct disadvantage. So
it's all good. It's all good. I think we're in the final stretch.
When you're working on projects, like, what does the timeline typically look like from inception to like when it gets implemented? And then I'll ask the second part of my question after.
Yeah, so I mean, it totally depends on the person. So some people come in with a pre-existing idea and they'll go through the whole process in like a week of like starting their project and applying for funding. And then on the other end of the spectrum are people who come in with a really cool idea or sort of in the process of still exploring, but need a lot of time to do the research and really get a good understanding of the project that they want to do and sort of do, talk to people in their community, their neighbors, their parents, whatever, other students in their school. And those can take a few months to a year. Sometimes people will pop in and come back. So I'd say it's all over the place. But if you're like super excited about it and you want to go ahead and apply for funding, you can move through pretty quickly. And that's something that we're proud of.
That's awesome. So then the second part of my question was kind of, what are some successes you've seen with your projects? Like, maybe there's a project you worked on closely, or maybe there's just one that you know of that did really well. Like, can you tell us like maybe like a success story about some of the projects?
Oh my gosh, so many I feel excited about. So there was a project based out of Connecticut that was really cool, where there's some young people who were collecting camera-enabled digital devices to donate to veterans and folks like their grandparents, elderly people who might not have access to the tech to be connected. And they started right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and were able to connect with young people all across the country and donate thousands of devices. So it was a pretty simple idea, and they also taught all these elderly people how to get on video chat and how to use that to connect with folks. So it was just a really something that was simple and so easy to implement, that they were able to really scale quickly. And I'd say we've seen a lot of success around, projects related to the pandemic of people being like, this is what people need right now, but we don't have time to wait to do this really complicated thing. We have to meet this basic need of folks.
I love that. I love the prioritization of ideas and community. And I remember being younger, and many of the adults in my life would kind of be like, oh, that is that. What a good idea. But then wouldn't necessarily give me the tools or the resources to make it a reality. And it sounds like the whole mission you all have is to committing to be the opposite of those adults. How can we make this happen, and how can we make it happen your way?
Yeah, I mean, a big thing that we think about is lowering the barriers. So there's so many people with cool ideas, and have these really, if I think about my life and I think about other people's lives that I'm close to, it's some of the most impactful experiences that you have and the things that you face that are the most unjust happen to you when you're 15 or 16. And that stays with you for the rest of your life. And that's really important to me to think about when I'm working with teenagers, because, I know what it was like for me, and I really want people to be able to feel like their voices are heard, and get the support that they need to make it happen. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there who are giving money to folks in high school to carry something out. And it's okay if I think a big tenet of our work is that you don't have to like carry out your project perfectly. It doesn't have to be a big success. And we see some projects that come to us and like stuff doesn't work out, and that's okay. It's about the process of like getting to carry out your idea and what you learn and what you figure out. Like a lot of these people, the projects that they pitch to Peace First aren't going to be forever. And that's okay. If you want to do something one time or act for like 3 months, we want to be a space for you to do that and like figure out how to do it, and get the support that you need. So I think that, yeah, lowering barriers is super important to me.
I love that. I think in a lot of ways, BPL is aligned with that. Like, how can we eliminate barriers and get people to places where they feel the confidence that we want them to feel in terms of making change in their community or simply making a change for themselves. I think that's, really cool. So as we move into our next round, just a reminder, this is the Boston Public Library Teen Services stream. We're here playing some Among Us with Peace First, a co-youth-led organization here to talk about a little bit of the work they do in the fields of activism. So if you have something you care about, which you should all have passions in life, pop it into the chat and we can ask them some questions about projects they've worked on, or maybe, something that if you're interested in taking a look more at what they do or even applying for a mini grant for an idea that you have, you can take a look at their website, peacefirst.org. Fish is giving a big thumbs up to submitting your own idea. You can also follow them on social and follow us on social, and you can also follow us here on Twitch, so that you can be aware of all the fun gaming that all the fun gaming we have going on. Chris, you can hit start whenever you're ready. And I will say, if you're having fun with us here today and you'd like to play a little bit more Among Us this week, we will be doing some Among Us later this week as well on Thursday at 6 o'clock. You can join us right back here on our Twitch channel. It'll be myself and a few of the other librarians. I'm talking and not paying attention to what I'm supposed to be doing. Playing some Among Us as well. And if our friends from Among Us if our friends from Peace First want to join us just to play and not go through an inquisition that time, you're more than welcome as well. All right, so go ahead and pop any questions you might have into the chat, and Laura will let me know about them. I see that Jasmine got kicked from the game, so unfortunately that does mean the next question goes to her. So Jasmine, you've talked a little bit today about the programs you've been doing with Instagram Live and the different storytelling kind of things you have going on. Could you talk a little bit more about those projects?
Yeah, I would love to. And if you are interested in hanging out with us on Instagram Live, I will be going live tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST for Black History Month. So I'd love to see you there. Another program that I wanted to mention that we had a little bit a while back, about 3 months back, is our Build program, and we started it after the murder of George Floyd and the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. And we wanted to get together some really amazing young Black leaders who were interested in starting projects, who were interested in leadership, activism, who just maybe even just wanted a place to talk, wanted a place to be themselves, wanted a place to talk about the things that they were seeing in their communities. And so it was a program that was launched in the US and the UK and Europe. And we had a cohort of some really amazing young people, some really amazing young Black leaders. And one of them, her name is Lauren, and she's from Chicago. And I just want to shout out to her story because she's doing some really awesome work. And she started a project called The Color of Autism. She is a high school senior, and she was actually kicked out of her school that's in her district where she lives because they did not have the resources, or they said that they didn't have the resources to accommodate her learning disabilities. And it was really hard for her because she had to travel several miles away to go to school every day. And that's where her friends were. That's where she was comfortable. That's where she felt like she belonged, and she felt really discriminated against because she wasn't able to stay in her community with her friends. And so she started The Color of Autism because she wanted to raise awareness that mental health and disabilities are a huge challenge and issue that comes up a lot in Black families and Black communities. It's not talked about nearly enough, and she wanted to draw some attention, especially to autism, because it's something that she had all of her life, but she was never diagnosed with until she was in her late teens. And so she really wanted to draw some attention to that and support people who might be going through something similar like her, and she's fantastic. And so the Build program is something that we're really, really proud of. We had lots of amazing workshops. I'm sad that I can't see what's happening in the game, but yeah, lots of amazing workshops, lots of amazing conversations, and so we're really proud of that.
Well, while I was listening to that wonderful story, I was voted off, even though I didn't do anything. Yes. Feels like it's Chris's fault. And by feels like, I mean, I know it is, because he said, oh, I think it's Allie, and then you all believed him. So, Fish, you're going to have to win for those of us on face here.
Oh, B, you died also?
It's sad.
Yeah.
I'm going to
That's
do
all
my
I
best.
have to say.
So all three of you work in different locations. Is there a central hub for Peace First? Is this a pandemic kind of situation, or do you all work from different places all over all the time?
Well, we have an office in Boston. I don't know if anyone's ever gone into it in the past year, but that is that's the place that we call home for Peace First. That's our mailing address, but our staff are all over the world. But we were founded in Boston, and we always have a special place for Boston in our hearts.
The best. I mean, it's a city with, it has a lot of charm, a lot of character, a lot of history, a lot of work to do. So it's, I feel like Boston's a good place to have an organization like Peace First where it can mobilize the youth to kind of take such a strong investment in their city and, right some of the injustices that they see going on in their direct communities. I like Fish being direct and to the point in this chat where he just said, it's not me. It's just like, it's not me.
I had been accused. And yep.
Oh, I do see that you have been accused. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Chris is voting. Whew. That's strong energy.
I will say one cool thing about Peace First is that we don't just have staff all over the US. We've got staff all over the world. So we've got team members who work in 10 different countries. In the US, Costa Rica, Canada, the UK, Nigeria, Egypt, Jordan, Nepal, Australia, and soon to be Kenya. So we really
that's incredible.
Whenever I get on a Zoom call, I'm like on a Zoom call with people who live in 5 different time zones, and the amount that I've been able to learn and experience just from being able to work with folks who have these different lives in different parts of the world, it's one of the luckiest things for me about this work. And one of the cool, I think, benefits for young people who join our community. Sorry, I got to vote Rainbow off real quick. One of the cool benefits for young people who join our community is you also get to connect with other young people from all over the world. So we literally have young users in over 150 countries now. So if you sign up as Soham in Boston and you join our community, you might have opportunities to connect with young people in Lebanon or in India or in Brazil or in London and learn about what they're doing and even find ways to support and collaborate with them on their work. It's one of the things that is, you don't just get support from your own project, but you get to build a community.
That's really rad, like a global community, and it does play into, that sense of getting together and making change together. So I love that you guys work not only to help people with their projects, but to connect them to almost like other activists all over the world and create this awesome network of, that was fast. Fish, are you murdering people? Are you sitting here talking about a globally engaged network of teen activists while running around murdering people?
I'm literally not. It's well, I'm not. I gotta talk in the chat. Voice privilege.
Yeah. So Jazz, you said that you were a prize winner with Peace First. What is that? What is that process, and what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a good question. So a few years ago, actually several years now, Peace First had what they called the Peace First Prize. And so they would find, actually Brennan was also Peace First Prize winner in my cohort. And they were at the time giving out $25,000 to young people doing amazing work in their communities. And so I started my magazine when I was 15. And it was after my sister had come home and was telling my parents about how she did not want to go back to school. She was just really struggling with her mental health. And I was a freshman and she was...
Ooh, we lost Jazz.
No.
Great, that's fine. It's nice because Brennan and Fish stayed where they're supposed to be, so now it just looks like I don't exist, which is fine by me. So, but Jasmine said that you were also a prize winner, Brennan. So can you talk a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, put me on the spot. Yeah, so like Jazz was saying,
yeah, absolutely.
Peace First ran a program for a few years called the Peace First Prize, and that was the year that Jazz and I received it. It was a $25,000 grant to a young person, actually 5 young people our year, who were doing impactful work and peacemaking projects in their community. And you could apply and put the funds towards your project and towards a college education. So I actually applied when I was in my senior year of high school. I found the Peace First Prize listed in like the scholarship listing given to me from my high school alongside like the KFC Church's Chicken scholarship. And I was just going down the list and like applying to everything because I was like, I'm going to get money for college. And I had no idea that I would actually be selected or have any chance of being selected. But when I was 15, I started a group with my best friend to support LGBTQ teenagers in my community. And ended up working in that for like 5 or 6 years and applied for funding through that group to support the work that we were doing, and ended up being selected by Peace First. So really amazing program, and we're hoping to be able to offer the prize again in the future. It's an opportunity for folks who have gone through this process of, building and scaling an idea to really move into, if you want to establish a nonprofit, if you're ready to do sort of big growth and reach out to other people across and beyond your community. We really see this as an investment in future leaders. It was a really fantastic opportunity for me. And I got to meet Jasmine. So just an incredible win all around.
Awesome. That's so cool. So did all 5 of the members of your cohort that year end up in the same kind of Peace First nonprofit realm, or do you, because I know you two obviously have stayed in touch, or is it kind of like it's not necessarily something you stick with once you get past the original idea and implementation?
Yeah, I would say everybody's connected to the Peace First community in some way. So there are 3 other young people who won. A young person named Shuteskat, who works in, he founded Earth Guardians, which is an environmental organization, especially focusing on Indigenous youth within the climate movement. He's doing really awesome work, but he's so popular that I haven't heard from him in years. So doing such cool stuff. And then Yasmin is still close with Jazz and does some cool work with Peace First around supporting children of incarcerated parents and making sure that they have access to college education and funding. And then Grace was 11 when she won the Peace First Prize, so she's super cool. She's a cancer survivor and also works with kids in the foster system, supporting them and giving them the stuff they need to succeed. Yeah, and I think everybody's still doing the work, even if they're not, Jazz and I are the only ones who are actually working for Peace First. But it's really cool to be able to plug in with those folks with the amazing things that they have done and are still doing.
I want to lift that up because I think it's so important. This kind of work when you started as a young person, like if you as a 15 or 16-year-old see a problem in your community and get started on solving it, that's the kind of work that can turn into a real job for you down the line. Either like finding an organization that shares that issue that'll hire you because of your passion and your experience, or maybe like Yasmin or Juktaskat that Brennan was just talking about, you'll start an organization and maybe even get funding to run it full time as an adult. Not everyone's project turns into something like that, and projects are valid even when they don't, right? Sometimes the best social change is change that happens at a small scale. But it really is interesting to think about the fact that, something that a problem that you try to solve when you're 15 can turn into a career of making social change. That's something a lot of young people don't think about, but you can actually make a living doing this work of saving the world.
That's really awesome. All right, we do have a question from the chat that I'm going to bring up as we're playing our next game. But to reintroduce ourselves, we are the Boston Public Library Teen Services Twitch stream, coming at you today with some Among Us with our friends from Peace First. We have Brennan, Fish, and Jasmine all here with us, answering all your questions about their organization and the work that they do. So feel free to pop a question into the chat. You can give them a follow on their socials. And we're going to keep on playing. So Chris, you can hit start whenever you're ready. Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So we did have a question in the chat, and this is a little bit of a heavier topic. So I just want to make sure that we, are aware of that. But we do have the trial for George Floyd's death coming up. Is there anything that young people can help to do to help push for a conviction, or maybe some of the work around police brutality and reform of that?
I mean, I think that
I know, while you're trying to also play the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to destroy asteroids, but yeah, I think one of the biggest things that young people can do, especially, is talk with your family. I think we can really discount the ways that how impactful it is for young people to talk with their friends and family about these things that are happening in the world, and make sure that folks are aware of what's going on and how they can help. I think there are some really cool resources online. I don't remember the names of the groups in the community right now, but there's some cool websites that you can go to that'll give you a long list of petitions that you can sign and different ways to get involved. You can donate to groups on the ground. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways depending on if you're giving your time, your money, your energy. Yeah, and I'll defer to other folks who have thoughts on how to contribute.
So, Allie, was the question, what can folks do to push for a conviction?
Yep. And then I think, too, if you want to talk about it in a broader scope as well, like continuing beyond the trial, absolutely do that as well.
I mean, one thing is that our prosecutorial system is really broken, right? Often when folks commit crimes against people of color, they don't get prosecuted in the ways they should. And one way that young people can make a difference on this is by getting involved in politics, right? Because a lot of our prosecutors are elected. Now, we at Peace First can't support specific campaigns or candidates or political parties. We do help young people actually register other young people to vote and turn out in elections that matter to them. We helped young people in Ohio, for instance. We funded a lot of youth voter registration campaigns in 2020. So one thing you can do is just make sure that you and other people who are passionate about this issue are voting and getting out to vote. And the other thing, is making not just your family aware, but your friends and people in your community aware of the issue and the root causes and the systemic injustices that are playing into it. So a lot of people don't understand about things like qualified immunity, right? Or legal protections that the folks who murdered George Floyd have that they really shouldn't have. People assume that the system is fair and they don't realize the ways in which it's set up to fail us. But if you can let people know the things that they might not see, the things that might be hidden about these kinds of problems, you might inspire them to start making change too. Jazz, I know you've done some really good writing and work about inequity. I don't know if you have tips to share about how people can raise their voices.
No, I think that UNB covered it pretty well. I think that the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing that I see happening, especially in Chicago, is education. Letting people know exactly what you said, Fish, about the injustices and inequalities that are happening in our systems, and using your voice and speaking up and saying that it's wrong. I think that a lot of young people don't necessarily see where they fit in all of this. Like my mom would say, it feels like grown folks' business, but it's really not. It's the system that you are inheriting, and it's really important that you decide for yourself what feels right, what feels wrong, and then stand up for what you believe in.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for that. And I would just like to say I'm very sorry for what I just said in the chat, but also I'm not sorry because it's true. I had asteroids, Brennan. So how did you have asteroids?
That was at the beginning. I think you can have more than one, but I don't actually know how to play this game. Yeah. Anyways, so one more comment on that. I think that one thing that young people really struggle with right now is feeling powerless, especially in this moment where like people are stuck at home and it's like all you can do is get online and go to school and like be with your family, and you feel so stuck, especially when there are these big things with like the government and with everything surrounding George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. It's so challenging to feel connected. And I just want to remind folks that we've seen young people on the forefront of every social movement throughout history. If you think about the civil rights movement, if you think about the movement for women's rights, if you think about the Arab Spring, young people were leading that work and doing this sort of like y'all all voted me off right now. I'm not an imposter, but anyways, if you think about this work that young people have done throughout history, it's so powerful and can help remind us of the power that we do have as young people. And I think that it's so important right now to think about the ways that young people are making space and sort of shaping the conversations of what our communities are going to look like for years from now. Yeah, and I don't know how to like close that thought. Sorry, go ahead.
I think you did just fine, but I think that's such an important topic to hit on. Fish, you let me throw Brennan under that bus. Brennan, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you could have 2 asteroids in a game.
I think you can do 2 asteroids.
But I was doing asteroids too.
Allie, that was super, super convenient. Thank you for that little in, because Chris was trying to direct some suspicion on Jenna there, and we just had to push somebody under the steamroller. And you laid the red carpet out for Brennan.
I walked right into it.
Sorry, Dee.
But so I think it's really important because as an adult, I feel, often quite powerless to make change in my community, no matter how I'm a grown up, whatever that means. So like I should know how to do this. I should know how to fix things. And quite often I don't know where to start, or I don't know if my ideas are big enough or good enough, or, and I love that your organization says to youth, like, come to us with whatever you've got, and we will find a way to kind of make it be what you are envisioning for the future. This is how you can make change. This is the resources, this is the mentorship, and I love that aspect of it. Could you all talk a little bit more about the mentorship of it? Or because I know you mentioned when there's projects, there are often mentors involved.
Yeah, so the cool thing is that when you come to Peace First and you start a project, you get to hang out with one of us. So you get to hang out with me or Brennan. The way it works is when you start and you tell us, okay, this is what I think the problem is and this is what I want to do about it, that's when you get your first round of feedback. So one of us will write you an email, we'll say, hey, here's what we really like about your idea. Have you considered these things? And then we'll move you forward. We'll do the same thing after you create your plan. So after you build out your plan, we'll say, hey, here's some things we think were really awesome about your plan. Here are some ideas we have to make your plan stronger. What do you think about that? And then after you've got your plan and your budget, that's when you get to hang out with one of us on a one-to-one video call. And we take that time to first, we're doing that call to make sure you are who you say you are. So weirdly, there are some like old people who want to steal from us, and so people have come to us and tried to pretend that they're 14 to take our money. So we do the video calls to make sure that everyone is who they say they are. But we mostly spend the call talking about your project and what you want to do and answering questions you have and thinking through challenges. And the other thing is as soon as you get a grant, you get access to our office hours program, which means you can schedule calls with anybody on the Peace First team to talk about your idea. So if you've got a question about fundraising and you want to talk to Amy, who's in charge of fundraising at Peace First, you can book a half hour with her and she can help you come up with strategies to raise money for your project. Or if you want to talk with Eric, our CEO, who founded Peace First 30 years ago, about your own leadership journey and how you can be a better leader, you can spend time with him and do that as well. We've got a team of almost 24 people who like our one job is to help young people who want to make a difference in any way we can. And often that just means like spending time with you and answering your questions and, you know, not like running you through a specific program, but figuring out what you want to know and answering from the best of our experience, but not telling you what to do, and letting you figure that out on your own.
Great. All right. If anyone wants to join, we do have 2 spots left in this game. We're playing some Among Us today with Peace First. And if you have any questions for them, pop them into the chat. It doesn't necessarily have to be about something we've already talked about. It can be any question at all. You can ask them what their favorite color is. That works. That's a valid question here for our friends. But Chris, I think whenever you're ready, we just had Bree join, which is awesome. We can go ahead and get started. Awesome. So are you guys allowed to tell us anything about projects you have in the works? Can we get like a little sneak peek of some cool stuff you're working on now? Is that allowed?
Do you mean our projects or projects that folks have brought to us?
Anything.
So one thing that I wanted to share is that we have a really cool project that I just talked with some folks about, and I wanted to share it because it's so close to what we're doing right now. I've been working with a young person named Marin who is actually hosting a live stream talking about mental health with folks in the gaming community, because folks can't gather in person right now, and folks who are used to playing games in person feel really isolated. So he's actually bringing folks together who are veterans and people of color within the gaming community to do a 4-hour stream of a bunch of different games and also talk about mental health and taking care of themselves. So I thought that was such a cool way to address this thing that so many people are experiencing. And I hadn't thought about using things like Twitch to talk about mental health. Because, you know, like one of my big questions coming to this conversation is like, can we talk about injustice and also play Among Us? And I think it works, but, you know, it's not something I had thought about. So I'm really curious about other ways that, you know, folks can connect with each other right now, doing things that they're already excited about. And I think we want to keep learning about ways to do that and help other folks build something, you know, that feels both fun and powerful.
So here's, I want to share 2 things we're working on, some secret things in the hopper that I think are really cool. One thing that we're starting to test, and this is a little, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sharing this on the stream, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're starting to test this idea with a few companies where young people can purchase a product and a percentage of the purchase gets donated forward to support youth-led social change. Do you know how you can buy like a Product Red iPhone or a Product Red t-shirt and a portion of the proceeds will go forward to support AIDS research?
My very first iPod was a Product Red iPod.
Yeah, like I got Product Red stuff. Like so the idea is that like young people would be able to support other young activists by like buying a t-shirt or buying a specific brand of lip gloss or buying a specific hamburger, but because they made that choice and that purchase, some of that money would be paid forward to help youth activists make a difference. So that's one thing we're working on. We've actually been working with a number of brands and other partners to pilot this. That's something that we might actually roll something out later this year. something that young people can buy into to help support their peers. The other thing we're working on our website always. We just released a new version of the website today. And the next big project we have to make it even better for young people who want to make a difference is we want to make it so that young people can't just start projects, but can join other people's projects. And so that when you go to the site, hopefully, some time from now, you'll see opportunities to go to, this person's project or that person's project and help them out with something that they're working on so that you can be a part of the change that other young people are making.
That's really cool. Oh, I look forward to that, because that would be like, younger me would have been glued to your website to find like ways to help, like that didn't involve like me needing to have the big idea, but how can I support other people's big ideas? Like, that's incredible. When that is available, please let us know so we can share it out with like our contact list and stuff, because I'm sure there are plenty of kids who don't necessarily know where to start, but would be happy to help if they knew like if they were passionate about something already. Oh, we have some accusations going around in the chat.
Yeah, Jazz and I are both dead, so.
Yeah, Jazz is dead, guys. This is a terrible debate.
Are we surprised?
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that they're accusing you. Oh, Chris is using all caps, which I always think is sus, but also.
Allie, you're using the fish strategy.
A little bit. Where you just proudly declare
It's not me,
you're not it isn't me. Chris and Jenna have a team up right now, and I don't think I approve of it, because they're both pretty sneaky players on their own, and I don't love that they're teaming up. I'm just gonna say it. I don't love it, guys. So we did get a question from our chat. If you all are ready for another question, I'm telling y'all. Anyways, if you're ready for another question, we have someone in the chat whose hometown is voting this week about making what is currently Columbus Day officially be celebrated as Indigenous Peoples Day. And while this person and their parents seem to be pretty educated about the topic, there are lots of people who are pretty ignorant on it. So what can they do? Fish. What can, is there things that they can do to help get this passed? Or like, do you guys have recommendations for getting involved at the local level, maybe, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, where I was talking earlier about talking to friends and family, I think one of the biggest things that you can do is making sure people are actually voting. Because, right now it's difficult to vote because folks are scared of getting sick. So making sure people know how to submit their ballots, if that's something that they can still do, making sure that folks are able to get those ballots to the ballot box, and just like texting everybody and be like, did you vote yet? If you're eligible. I guess one barrier is like if you're under 18, you might not be able to vote. But figuring out who in your community you can check with, whether it's your grandparents or your neighbors, and be like, did you hear about this thing? And then I think, that one-to-one outreach can be one of the most powerful things that you can do, is saying like, this is what's happening, this is why it matters. We've also seen some people do really successful, quick social media campaigns where you go on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook and you make a video talking about the issue and why it matters, and maybe your own story and your own perspective. And you can ask other people to participate too. So thinking about your friends, thinking about folks who go to school with you, and pulling other folks in and thinking about why it's so important. Because I think like one of the biggest problems with things like this is that people either like don't know about it or don't care. And you got to figure out like, how do you get them over that barrier of being like, this doesn't matter. And you gotta make a story that involves them and be like, this matters to all of us.
That's so right.
You guys, so go ahead.
I was going to say a couple other things you can do if you're too young to vote. You can always organize public testimony, right? So if there's a local government meeting, like a city council meeting, on this issue, get some people together and go and talk about it. There's no age limit on who can speak at these meetings. You can always write a letter to the editor of your paper or a local blog like Patch, right? Again, there's no age limit on publishing your thoughts in a public forum, and people will take letters to the editor from young people on local issues all the time. In fact, people will often be really inclined to listen when a young person is speaking out on an issue for the first time. And the other thing is, you don't necessarily have to restrict your outreach to the people you know specifically, right? If you are, passionate about a particular issue, you can always do what people have done for centuries and go door to door and talk to people about it, right? Or hold a phone bank, right? You can get numbers of people in your town from the city clerk, from the voter registration records, and you can call people and you can say, hey, do you think that, what do you think about this particular issue with Columbus Day? And do you think that this should be a holiday? You can explain your perspective and ask people to take an action. The great thing about that kind of campaign too is, unlike asking people to support a particular political candidate or party, supporting young people's work on those kinds of issue-based referendums is something that Peace First can fund. So if you're really interested in trying to figure out how you might get people to see this issue differently and push back on the naming that racist holiday, like, we can share our emails, like reach out to Brennan, and we can help you get set up with some stuff. That'd be really exciting to help you with that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Chris, you can go ahead and start the game whenever you'd like. And then, like, kind of as a follow-up question to that, do you all have any like advice or good ways to come up with counterpoints when you run into somebody that you disagree with? Because I know a lot of activism work, right, is pushing forward ideas that are not necessarily agreed upon by everybody. So what are some ways that you can approach differing ideas to help you sway somebody to your side, maybe?
I can jump in on that if everyone else is busy swiping cards. For us, I think the most important thing that we ask young people to do is listen to other people, right? So even the people who might be causing the problem, people who are wrong, they've got a reason for believing what they do. And the only way you're going to be able to win them over to your way of thinking is to understand what is it, what information do they have, what values do they have that's causing them to make these choices, and then you're going to be able to make a counter argument. So we actually have trainings we do with young people to help them listen to and understand folks who think differently from them on an issue. Again, not so that you change your mind to agree with them, but so that you can understand, why does this person, who might otherwise be a good person, believe this thing that's standing in the way of justice? And how can I understand what their values are and what their motivations are so that I can find a way to bring them along on the path I want them to be on? So if you're wondering about how to do that, we've got some tools at peacefirst.org that can help you specifically think about like how to structure those conversations so that you learn.
Oh, so nice of you to answer that question and die at the same time. Just so kind of you. EnGAMEment. Wasn't Chris, as much as it pains me to say that. It's the only person I can trust is Chris. Yeah, applause though. Fish, you didn't miss. I didn't even notice at what point you died in that monologue. That was incredible.
I was backstabbed in the middle of the whole thing, and I've been fueling the engines too, like just too crazy.
Yeah, I think so you mentioned a little bit, Fish, and anyone can jump in on this. So you guys offer kind of like trainings and things in addition to specific project work. Could you talk a little bit more about who's eligible for those trainings, what they look like, how do people sign up for them, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'll take this since Brennan and Jasmine are still trying to find my killer. The way to find out about any kinds of trainings that Peace First has going on is to follow us on social. We're on Insta, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, now we're on TikTok. And
we are also now on TikTok. That's been an adventure.
So that's the way to follow. And so when we're hosting, community calls where we have presenters or trainers coming in, we'll advertise those, and those are open to the general public. The other thing you can do is if you want to work through any of our resource guides, we have about 24 written resource guides that might help you with a particular thing that you're working on, like mobilizing volunteers or talking across lines of difference. You can find those at peacefirst.org/resources. So if you go to our newly redesigned site, we're very excited about this. The site just launched today. You can go to the resources tab and you can find a particular article or training that you might want to work through that's specific to your needs.
And then we did have one last follow-up question to that same kind of like local activism question. Do you know, typically, like with town clerks and public information, do we have a lot of red tape around that? Is that something people encourage? So like getting your hands on like the phone numbers to contact people. Do you know typically how easy that process is? Your answer can be you don't know. That's okay.
Yeah, Fish, I think that's a question for you because you're the civic engagement nerd out of all of us.
Yeah, you can. So if you wanted to do a phone bank to canvass people in your town about the Christopher Columbus issue, you can generally buy a copy of the voter file from the town clerk. And that is, that how much that is depends on what town you live in and how many names you're requesting. But again, it's definitely something that Peace First could help you pay for. So then they would give you like a disc with data on it that you can tell I've done this before, that has the names of people who are eligible to vote in such and such an election and their address and their phone numbers. So that way, if you wanted to go knock on doors or if you wanted to go call people, you could just come up with a list and you and your friends could go do it.
Nice, thank you. Civic engagement is the name of the game, Fish. I love it. Also, I have also now been killed as well.
So we do have a question from Chris in the chat here about how to make posts on social media that people take seriously, especially if you're a young person. And Jazz, I was wondering if you would take this one.
Yeah, I would love to. So I think first, the thing about social media is that there's so much noise that's happening, right? Like everybody's on social and everybody has something to say. So the first and foremost thing that I think is important to keep in mind is just to use your authentic voice. Saying exactly how you feel and sticking true to your voice and your narrative is always really important. Okay, Chris, hold on. Let me cast my vote. But I think also
because voting is important, kids.
building a network of people who feel like they have a lot of synergy. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, looking for people who are talking about similar interests to you and sort of lifting up role models or icons around the subjects and topics that you might be interested in talking about. A lot of young people who are coming to us, or a lot of young people who I get the opportunity to interact with and do some one-on-one storytelling workshops with, it's all about kind of like finding that niche in the themes or the projects that you're trying to work on, and having authentic voice. And so if you're focusing on just Instagram or just Twitter or just Facebook, what can you bring that's authentically you to this space, but also a part of the bigger conversation? And so I think that focusing on one or two social media platforms rather than all 12 is a really good starting point. And then looking at role models who are maybe doing some work that's similar to the work that you're trying to do. And I gotta move. Looking for people who are doing similar work to the work that you're trying to do, and using that as a guide or as a model. And if you are interested, wow, B,
Brennan, you killed me while I was talking, and I have to say this is decidedly unfair.
It was just, you were just standing there.
I stood up for you in that first round. I was like, it's not me. It's not.
That was very nice of you.
I know. I stood up for Chris too. We were duped.
Wow. I didn't die though. But yeah.
All right, so we do probably have time for one, maybe two more games. So if you still want to join us, our code today is IAXNHF. We're the Boston Public Library Teen Services team here today with Peace First, answering some questions you might have about their organization or the work that they do. You can pop them into the chat and Laurel will send them my way. We're going to wrap up around 5 o'clock today, so we'll see. We've had some really long, sneaky games this time around, so this will probably be our last one. So you can go ahead and hop in the room. There are 2 spaces left, so go ahead. I'll give you a minute to do that, and then we'll get started with our game. And Jazz, did you have a little bit more about your awesome advice about being authentic?
So I'm eating cheese. It's also multitasking, but yeah, I think just like I said, using your voice, finding what it is that you believe in, looking for role models that might be talking about the same or similar things that you're interested in talking about, asking questions, and also finding mentors who might be able to help you really understand what it is that you're trying to say. So if you're looking for social media advice or storytelling advice, definitely we can do that for you here at Peace First. But I would say sticking to your authentic voice. Don't try and sound like anybody else. Try and sound like you. Talk from your perspective, your story. You know it better than anybody else does, and so that's where I would start.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Thank you. All right, Chris, I think we can go ahead and get started with our last game of the day, unless, of course, it ends very quickly, in which case we'll play that long. But it feels like today it's been a little bit long. As we're playing our last game, don't forget after the fact to go and check out Peace First's new website. It'll give you the chance to check out all the cool projects that they're working on and that they will be continuing to work on. If you have an idea for a project yourself, that's where you would go to check it out and maybe bring up your idea, see if you can get a little bit of funding and some one-on-one time to learn more. Yeah. All right, are there any other things that we didn't get a chance to talk about today that you all really would really like to talk about?
I'm deeply distracted, I gotta say.
Sorry, I'm just diverting
Yeah,
power.
You're just diverting power.
Yeah, from the system to young people. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Okay. I think the thing that I want to make sure that I don't forget to reiterate before we get off the call is the importance of folks joining the Rebuild 100 campaign. If you right now are a young person in America, you know that we have big problems. Like from racial injustice to climate change to people not being able to access good education or good jobs when they graduate. Like there are so many things that I look as a 25-year-old and I'm anxious about. And there's so much that you can do on your own, especially if you've got a community and the right kind of support behind you. You don't have to know exactly what it is you want to do. You just have to know what problem it is you want to solve. And our job is to take you the rest of the way. Believe me, change is not going to happen without people like the folks who are listening to this chat right now, raising their hand saying, I want to make a difference and coming off the sidelines. And I know that work is hard. Like I know that work is hard because I've done it. We all have, and it's not easy and the path is not straight. But at the same time, like, you build incredible community through doing that work. Like Brendan and Jazz and I work together. We're also friends. And you meet so many amazing people when you choose to step out and do this kind of work to solve problems in your community. And so if you're ready to do that, like if that's something you want to do, like go to the Rebuild 100 forum right now. And then what'll happen when you fill that is like Brennan will reach out, send you an email and schedule a call. Like, we don't need you to be perfect. We don't need you to be ready to have the biggest, best plan to save the world. We just need you to want to make a difference, and we will be here every step of the way until you're satisfied with what you've done, helping you out.
That's awesome. What a pitch. I wish I like just aged out. So I'm kind of like, what if I could go back in time? Pandemic birthdays don't count. I can still submit my idea.
One thing that we've seen folks doing that's really cool is like people who are just over the age limit or like have already led their own project and they're not interested in doing another one is like helping their cousins and like nieces and nephews like go through this process. And it's really, really compelling if it's coming from somebody in your family or like a neighbor or somebody that you're friends with. And I think that's a really awesome way to get involved. And then the other thing that I would say is for folks who are watching is that, you know, if you're not sure how to get started, I think that's a really normal place to be at. That's probably the most common question that we get from folks is like, what the heck do I do first? And you're welcome to reach out directly. I think we can share our contact information probably in the stream, or it's also available pretty easily on the website. You can send us an email and I'm happy to chat and talk more about like what you're interested in and figuring out like what's the first place that you want to get started or like what do you care about right now. So I'd say that's a really good way to connect even if you're sort of feeling stuck right now.
And Jazz, even as I lobby accusations, was there anything else you wanted to talk about today? To talk about our youth about?
Wow, it's literally not me. Wow, you guys, please don't. I think that I would just echo what Fish and Bee have said. Don't be scared to get started. I think that the biggest obstacle that I've seen young people face is feeling like they couldn't, or that they were too young, or that they didn't have enough time or resources or knowledge, and that's just like, it's not true. Come as you are. We're excited to have you. And if you care about something, if you're passionate about something, this is the place for you. This is somewhere that you can call home. Brennan brought up a really good point about aging out. I mentor a couple of girls from the magazine, and they're all currently or starting to think about what kind of Peace First projects that they're starting, and it's really nice to see things go full circle, and have girls go on and talk about issues that are important to them and get those resources and that funding, because it really is one of those experiences that I feel like is life-changing. Starting my project and not even thinking it was going to get big, starting a project because I cared about my sister and my best friend, and how they were feeling about themselves and their self-esteem, and then having it grow into something that I'm really, really proud of. But even if it doesn't grow into something huge or amazing, and you don't reach millions of young people all around the world, I always say that doing something nice for other people or following a passion is the best thing that you can do for yourself. The fulfillment that you'll feel after you start a project is, ow, you guys. Okay. Well, you see what happened.
I really did.
But yeah, that's what I would add. Definitely just don't be scared to get started, and if you already have aged out, definitely send the resource to somebody else who might be able to benefit. Ooh. Emergency meeting.
So I know we're having an emergency meeting, but the other thing, Jazz, that I think is important to say is that I don't know that anybody ever comes up with a perfect idea. And I think that pretty much everybody that I've worked with has been really unsure and been like, is this really right? Is this like, should this be me? I don't know. And I think imposter syndrome is super real in this work. Like, I know that when I started my project when I was 15, I was like not intending to do anything big. I sort of was pulled along this journey with other people around me of being like, this is something that people need of supporting LGBTQ youth. But I was really trying to find a space for myself. And that's really where my work started in. And I think that that's totally normal and okay.
Allie.
Are you?
Listen,
So not only did you accuse me and get me kicked
love-
off,
police.
it was you. Wow.
Yes, I believe in peace in the real world and absolute chaos in the Among Us world. So, cool. All right. So as we kind of head into the home stretch of, I think, our last game for today, just a reminder that you can follow BPL Teens on all of our socials, as well as our friends over at Peace First on all of their socials. I definitely want to go and check out that storytelling Instagram lives that Jazz was talking about earlier. That sounds really cool. So I'll be doing that after we log off today. Tomorrow afternoon, Chris will be back with some Jackbox. If you want to come around 3 o'clock, we'll be playing some interactive games right here on our Twitch channel. And Thursday night, we'll be hosting another Among Us session here on Twitch from 6 to 8. So we hope you can join us then. We also have an author talk coming on March 25th. Namia Fournier, her debut novel, The Gilded Ones, a West African-inspired fantasy, which skyrocketed onto the New York Times bestseller list on its first day. We'll be talking to her a little bit about her writing process and anything else, any questions you might have about that book. I do recommend checking it out. Or you can do what I'm going to do and steal Laura's copy one of these days. I just want to also say a big thank you to our friends here at Peace First for spending the afternoon playing games with us and just generally acting up. We do love to have friends on the stream. And if you have any follow-up questions for them, you can put them in the chat. We can make sure to get them to them. Or you can contact one of the librarians and we'll be able to share further contact information for someone here. And then again, check out their super cool new website, which just launched today. Oh my God, some people are dead.
Allie, are we allowed to share our emails in the chat? Does that work?
If you are comfortable with that, absolutely go for it.
Awesome. Where should I send them if we want you all to put them in the chat, like in the guest hangout?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I can do that right now because I'm dead.
All right.
I don't have any more tasks. Brennan, you have to get this right. Avenge all those I have killed.
I can't. I'm getting kicked out.
Well, they weren't wrong.
Brennan, you were found out.
I was found out. I have nothing to say about that. I'm such a bad liar that I just can't talk.
We actually play Among Us as like a team retreat game, and Brennan is consistently probably the least successful imposter on the Peace First team. Our friend Tomid, who runs Peace First in the UK, is really, really good. Like, he's dangerous.
I mean, we have a colleague as well, Amanda, who usually plays with us, and she's like deceptively scary at this game. And then there's Michelle, who just guesses. She'll literally sit here and be like, "Oh, it's blue," and we'll be like, "Why?" And she'll be like, "It is," and she's always right. All right. I mean, if it's not too much work for you guys, I would say maybe let's even play one more, even though I told Chris that was probably the last game and he probably exited the game. He definitely did. All right. I won't make him start a new one. That is going to be it for us today. If you guys could give one last shout out to your 100 days, rebuild 100 days. Oh, you can still give a last shout out to 100 days, but we can play one more game super quick as well.
Well,
Loud and clear.
All right, so we are going to play one more quick game with our friends here at Peace First, and they're going to give us one last overview of their Rebuild 100 project, which I think is super cool and awesome, and you guys should all do your best to try to maybe get involved. Or if you have a bigger idea that you're interested in sharing with them, peacefirst.org. Take a look. They have lots of resources about how you can get more involved as well. So you guys can go ahead and jump into your last little pitch for joining your Rebuild 100 campaign. And Chris, I think you can go ahead and hit start whenever you'd like.
Yeah, so Rebuild 100 is a campaign that's challenging young people like you all to share your ideas to rebuild and reimagine your communities in the first 100 days of the Biden administration. So if you're thinking about racial justice, you're thinking about women's rights, you're thinking about LGBTQ equity, it's an invitation to you to figure out, what can you do in your community right now that maybe like we don't have time to wait for Biden and the Biden administration to do to fix for us. So we really want to challenge folks to get involved, even though maybe it feels hard right now to get started. We really want to be that inspiration for folks to step up and do something, even if you maybe have never been able to before. And providing the resources and expertise and community that people need to be able to do that. So folks can sign up on our website at peacefirst.org by starting a project or going to peacefirst.org/rebuild100. And there's a Google form that you can sign up on there. And I'll send over some resources with more information.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. And remember that even if you didn't hear an issue you care about talked about here on stream today, bring it to Peace First. Just because we didn't get a chance to talk about it today doesn't mean they don't care. It just means we can't fit everything that they do into 2 hours. So please, 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 if you have a cool idea, reach out, see what they say, have them, they can help you grow your idea. You don't have to, do it all alone. There's a community of people, I think, is what I will be taking away from this interview, at least. There's definitely a community behind all of you.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would say is that, the only requirement that we have other than being in the age range is that you have to be able to explain to us why the issue that you care about is an injustice. And that's something that most people can do. So the lens of folks that we work with is super broad. We've worked with folks doing mutual aid work, distributing food in their communities. We've worked with people who are gathering students in their schools to talk about an issue that they care about over Zoom. There's tons and tons of different ways, and there's lots of great example stories on our site too, if you're interested in looking for some inspiration to get started.
That's awesome. I mean, I know that our teens are definitely super passionate about the issues that they care about. So hopefully they will, after today, go ahead and take a look at your website and see what more ways they can maybe get involved with your organization or draw inspiration from what you all are doing. I'm dead.
Oh no.
All right. Again, if this was not enough betrayal for you and you are interested in more betrayal, Thursday night from 6 to 8, we'll be back with some of your favorite BPL Teen Services librarians to do some murdering after the sun goes down. And Stephen isn't here to stop me from saying that today because they're on vacation. So I will be saying murdering after the sun goes down on our stream. All right. And we're voting. Oh, my God. This chat is a disaster. And if you have any follow-up questions, we have popped the information for the folks here on stream today in the chat. And of course, you know where to reach all of us. You can always send an idea for a game, or if you have a question and you're not sure where it should go, you can send it to virtualteenroom@bpl.org. And someone will get back to you. Follow us on socials. Let's have a good time together. Rainbow Girl, on Thursday evening from 6 to 8, we're going to do another Among Us stream. So I hope you'll be able to join us. Oh, I guess I should finish my tasks, even though I'm bitter about being dead. Awesome. Thanks, Bree, for popping that in the chat. Thank you to all of our teens for joining today. You know that you are the ones that we do this for. I hope that you came, you had some fun, and that you also learned something. Maybe were inspired by something you heard here today. I literally... Fish is never invited back to this stream. Never, ever, never. Brennan, Jazz, anytime. Fish, never again.
I told you I was a 6.5. I'm gonna have to update that stat.
I know, you're gonna have to. I think you hustled us. I think you're out here telling us you're a 6.5, and you knew.
Did I?
All right, so that is our stream for the day. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Brennan, Fish, and Jasmine from Peace First. It was so nice to have you. And we will see you all again tomorrow for Jackbox, Thursday for Among Us, or next Tuesday for Animal Crossing. And that's our show. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. No, 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 don't be suspicious, don't be.
John Ralphio?
Don't be suspicious, no.